Good evening. I would like to call the July 17th, 2024 Business Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Dr. Lynn Sharpenshank.
Here.
Mr. Clyde Duplanis.
Here.
Ms. Leslie Wells.
We have a quorum. Yep. Moving on to item 2, insurance. To receive a report from Carmel Bro with Norris Insurance Consultants regarding the renewal of LPSD flood insurance policies. Hello, Ms. Bro.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Everybody's favorite subject, flood insurance. This board has, I'm not going to bore you too much, Mr. Henry. This board purchases 27 flood policies, all come up for renewal in September. The first on the list, you'll see the first 18 of them come up September 2nd, then the last 9 are September 5th, just a few days difference between them. If you look all the way to the right, column 2024 premium, this is going to be the premiums, the renewal premiums for each one of these policies at this renewal time. These are all policies that are underwritten by the National Flood Insurance Program, also a part of FEMA. You'll notice when you get to the bottom, the total annual premium for this renewal is going to be $168,404, about a $21,000 increase over expiry. And they had a small rate increase April 1st. They usually do that every year, April 1st. But the biggest increases that you see on each individual lines, when you see a large increase, looks like it would be large. Those are the policies that fell under when the new flood 2.0 came out 2 years ago, and the rates, they adjusted the rates and they adjusted the way they come up with the rates and the premiums to make it more in line with the actual exposure, the risk, the location of the building. They could not raise the rates more than 25% each year. So they will raise it, that whole 25%, until they get to that level of those premiums. And as an example, just to give you an example, the very first one, the Bible Middle School, you'll see going from 10,000 to 12,000. That's one of them that falls under that 25%, and you're going to keep seeing that same amount until it reaches that plateau where they're saying they're getting enough rate for that particular location exposure. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you renew these 27 policies at the $168,404 for this year. Any questions?
Nobody wants to touch that.
I'll make a motion. No, this is a report. We're not voting on
Yeah,
this.
we're not voting on this, right?
Okay.
All right.
I'll wait till next month.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
What it is recommend approval?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will.
It's a vote.
Okay, so I will.
You will motion, and I will second.
We have to discuss.
So now we have to discuss. Any public comment? Any discussion from the board? Let's go. And motion carries. Thank you. Item B, to receive a mid-year performance report on the self-funded medical plan as presented by Buddy Leday of Gallagher Benefit Services Incorporated. Good evening.
Having me. So yeah, it's mid-year right now. So obviously it's time to just kind of look at where we are year to date, and hopefully, you guys are happy with it. It's not the best news, but it's not the worst news either, because I do think we're doing a good job of keeping ahead of the curve in terms of inflationary costs related to healthcare expenses right now, and I'll talk about that Again, I don't want to go into great detail on this report. You guys have seen it a million times, but basically we extrapolate data from all of your different expenses between the Medicare Advantage plan, the self-funded plan, the pharmacy rebates, and also reinsurance, and we're bringing it all into one place. So instead of bringing out 30 reports, we kind of put it all in one, okay? As you'll notice, again, we can go back in time, and I like to give about a 10-year run so you can see the history of what we've done with this thing. So again, without getting into too much detail, you guys had everybody on the self-funded plan, including retirees. We did a few things. One, we went out to pharmacy RFP. This is the last year of a 3-year agreement with Elixir. Next year is the last year of a 3-year agreement with Elixir, so we will be going out next year to look at the pharmacy contracts. The Medicare Advantage, we're going to talk about that later, but I have good news on that, and then I have some news for the future on that as well. But as you'll see here, the first column in 2024, it's looking at gross claims. Bad month in June, that's not uncommon. We see it every year. A lot of medical procedures are happening right when school ends, and then they hit in June. So to have a bad month in June is not unexpected. But we've had much worse months in the past than the 1.7. So that's something to keep in mind. The specific reinsurance reimbursements, we don't want that number to be high. That means somebody's very sick and they've hit their specific deductible of $300,000. So again, the school district takes the first $300,000 on the self-funded plan. After that, reinsurance reimburses y'all. And like we said in the past, we've had numbers that go $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 in expenses. We also have had reinsurance contracts come back with what we call lasers, where they say, look, the person is very sick, or we're anticipating this high expense, and this person's deductible is not $300, but $600 or $700 or $800. Very proud of the work we've done on that and negotiating no new lasers on a lot of the contracts. So we haven't had any extreme lasers in a long time. Actually, this year we don't have any. The drug rebates and subsidies, again, we're very aggressive there. Our pharmacy team does a great job of negotiating those contracts, increase those numbers, and you can see it in here from 21 to 22, 23, 20. We've constantly gotten better on the drug rebates, the money we get back from the drug manufacturers. They help keep the costs down. Fixed costs is your administrative costs. I just want to reiterate that fixed cost is a very small percentage of the total plan cost. The plan cost is coming in claims. But that cost is your administrative to use Blue Cross's network and to receive their discounts, and also for the reinsurance that you buy, the $300,000 specific. The Humana premium, we have that from Medicare Advantage. Again, just want to reiterate, that was a huge thing for us. It came with a lot of pushback from the retirees. They've grown to really like having the Humana Medicare Advantage program. And if you remember right when Postlethwaite Netterville was here not too long ago, the other thing that it did, which was just tremendous, is unfunded long-term liabilities. So there was a cliff, basically. If you remember, he gave that presentation, and he said, by going to this, it's much more predictable versus what they had to plan out when you had them on the self-funded plan. So that was huge for that piece as well. The total annual cost, it shows there between everything after the rebates and subsidies, and then it goes down to show the split. Right now, what's happening is we are taking money out of each retiree and each employee's paycheck to their premium. We have not changed that in several years now, okay? The school district puts up a certain amount that we've kept level as well. What the district decided to do some time ago, Ms. Ortiz decided that we would just budget additional dollars to the healthcare fund and to make up those costs to the tune of about $3 million per year. That's been enough for the last couple of years, and it looks to be right close right now. So what we're doing right now is we're doing some predictive modeling. Now that I have 6 months of data, I always like to wait until I have June and July, because those are the typically not so great months to come back to Chastity and say, look, this is what we're predicting for next year. You might want to budget more or less or whatever it is into that healthcare fund. And then that's what you see there. So 3.5 million from the employees and the retirees, 5.6. That's what y'all doing on a monthly basis. And so far, y'all had to put in an additional $1.4 million in order for the employees not to have to pay more. And that's just because of increased cost of healthcare. Okay? Talk about that some more. So what it comes out to is basically the school district's paying 67% of the total plan costs, and employees are paying 32%. We try to keep that around 65, right? So right now, y'all paying a little more than that, which is beneficial for the employees. And then the monthly average at 1.7 and it's at 3.8% above prior. So what that means is we're looking at the monthly average being 3.8%, okay? That's not good. That's a lot of money on this big of a plan. However, where are we trending right now on medicine, especially, and on hospitalizations? We are below that trend. So typically medical trends somewhere in the 7 to 9% range, and pharmacy was usually around 6 to 7, 8%. Right now, the medical's trending about the same. Pharmacy, in some instances, is trending at 20%. Pharmacy costs are what's exploding right now. And we talked about that in the past. They're coming up with life-saving medications for people, one of which they talked about, and it passed approval. It's a sickle cell treatment. And if somebody has sickle cell, a child with sickle cell, it's a cure, but to the tune of $2.5 million. So these things have to be accounted for when we're trending out these plans in the event that that were to happen. So 3.8%, I'm hoping throughout the rest of the year we could level that out to 0, and then I'd be happy as can be. But even at 3.8, it's not as bad as some folks I've seen lately because of the increased cost of medicines especially. So that's where we are. Again, I talked about the pharmacy. I just want to touch back on that. This is, we don't have to do anything on that this year because we're going to the 3rd year. Next year's a big year for us because we're going to go out and we're going to look at pharmacy contracts again. Next year, we also have to look at Medicare. So that's going to be a big discussion next year. So we just need to all prepare ourselves for that. We're also going to look at the network, make sure Blue Cross is still where they need to be in terms of network discounts, because that's the main thing, right? We want the group that has the best network discounts. There's also things like employee sentiment, lack of disruption, all those things come into play with when we're looking at this. But who we're going to do business with, it's really on the self-funded plan between Blue Cross and United. That's your 2 players right now. And we'll have to make a decision whether we look at both of them again or we just look at the networks. So, and we have access to all that data to support the decision. So, any questions to this? I'll just, yeah, okay, good. And I'll just stay here for the Humana part.
Item C, to receive a report from Buddy Leday of Gallagher Benefit Services Incorporated on the Humana Medicare Advantage renewal for the 2025 plan year and to take appropriate action. Buddy?
So I got great news on that, and I got disturbing news on that as we move forward. So Medicare Advantage is a program that was put in place where they take private insurers like Humana and Blue Cross and United Healthcare, and they basically administer the program on the behalf of Medicare. So the people who are on this plan, when they go to the doctor, they show them their Humana card, and everything coordinates through that. These companies receive a lot of funding from CMS, Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, in order to do this. Last year, we had heard there was good competition out in the market. Obviously, Gallagher has a lot of school districts and other companies that we work with, and that there were some competitive numbers coming in from United Healthcare specifically and Blue Cross. We went to Humana and we said, listen, guys, we know there's some competition out there. We do not want to disrupt what the employees have grown to love and appreciate. Y'all need to come with some type of strong proposal so that we could bring that to the board. And they did. They lowered their premiums by about 20%. We were at the 198, I think it was, and we went down to 161. So school districts saved money, employees saved money, retirees saved money, and everybody was happy. In addition, we were able to negotiate for them to give it on a 2-year rate guarantee. So guaranteed for 2024 and for 2025. Okay. This year we had a meeting, and it did get a little bit uncomfortable for a minute there, where Humana sprung on us that within the contract language, there are certain stipulations that if CMS changed the guidelines and funding mechanisms drastically, that they don't have to honor the 2nd year of the rate guarantee. I had flames coming out my ear. Chastity saw me. It was not pretty, but we fought very hard to get them to honor that 2nd year rate guarantee. We got our lawyers involved. We got upper management at Gallagher as well as Humana involved. We used our leverage with the company as being an important broker partner for them in the long term. And they have agreed to honor that rate for 1 more year, okay, at 161, which is what they had put forward to begin with. What is causing them to want to back out? Basically, CMS is telling them you need to do more with less. They are lowering, it's a lot to do with the Inflation Reduction Act. They're lowering out-of-pocket maximums that can be built into these plans and so forth. Y'all's already is at 1,000. So y'all already below that threshold, but the whole book of business with Humana is effective, and with Blue, and with United. Just this week, we had some conference calls amongst some colleagues of mine that work in this space. They're seeing 100% increases, double of the rates, in some instances. So we are very happy that we got another year, because if we had to go to market this year and we didn't fight for the rate guarantee, we'd be seeing a huge increase, no doubt about it. Some other school districts are going to see double. Okay. What does that mean for next year? That means we need to prepare ourselves that next year there's going to be a tremendous increase in all likelihood. Now, my hope is, again, when these type of things happen, they're always going to over adjust, right? Shoot, we don't know what this is going to mean to us. They're changing our funding. They're making us lower out of pocket maximums. How's that going to affect it? So they're going to make sure they don't lose, basically. Okay. At the same time, since we have another year, hopefully things stabilize a little bit and it won't affect the renewal quite so bad next year. But that's just the hope at this point. So we'll do everything we can. I can assure you that keeping Medicare Advantage is still the better option than bringing them back to your self-funded plan. We're just going to need to see which one of those options are. So tonight, we're basically hurrying up and grabbing this rate guarantee for one more year until something happens and it's no longer whatever. But 161, everybody continues to pay the same rate, and the school districts pays the same, and we're really, really happy about the fight we put up to keep that for you guys.
All right.
Any questions on that?
Just a comment, but I really appreciate how you all went to bat for us with that second year. That's important to all our people. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We were very taken off guard by it. And look, the emails I sent to them, I told Humana, what I have in this community is a reputation for being a good and honest businessman. And I'm the one in front of this board last year saying I got a 2-year rate guarantee. So I would be the one to come and say they're not going to honor the guarantee. So who's the jerk then? So I definitely let them know that it not only matters to me, but the employees and the retirees. And we fought hard. Yeah, it got really ticky tack there. So, yeah. Thank you, Henry.
I need a motion on this?
I recommend approving
It's
the
an
first
action.
renewal.
We want to grab this for.
Right, so you will, motion in approving the renewal.
Motion by Mr. Duplantis, and I will second. Any comment from the public? Any further board discussion? If not, let's vote. Motion carries.
Buddy, just one clarification on that. So right now, the cost per month per participant is $161.
For Medicare Advantage program, correct?
Medicare Advantage program. So just to boil this down, you anticipate next year that number will be north of that. And in a potential worst case scenario, it could approach 300.
That's what we're hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But again, if we did if we did the calculation of what we call a PEPM, per employee per month cost on the self-funded plan, it's substantially more than that.
Yeah.
So it's still your better option.
By a lot.
But Inflation Reduction Act, and there's some Milliman reports and stuff out there, and I could send some to y'all if you want to read up at it. But basically, the government's telling you got to give more to so it benefits retirees on these programs. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it ultimately becomes the employer, or in this case, district. And again, that's something we're going to have to review, Mr. Martin. Like, next year we're going to come in here and there's 1,000 categories. Y'all know that, and different people fall different places. How we adjust that? Do we keep the percentages the same? And what do we do? Obviously, that's something we're going to have some discussions about. But again, I hope it stabilizes so the increase is minimal. And we're going to create competition. We always will. and hopefully we get something good. And if we have to move, we will. United Healthcare is getting really strong in the marketplace, and so Blue Cross is kind of making some traction too. Humana, this was always kind of their thing, but they got some competition. All right, guys.
Item D, to consider the proposal from Sterling Wellness to provide wellness services. Ms. Emo.
So in fiscal year 2020, Sterling recognized the challenges facing the district, and they agreed to provide their on-site screenings at a discounted rate of $95. Due to inflation, as Mr. They just spoke of, they are increasing this fee to $131.25 for each. These funds are covered by the health insurance, and therefore I'm recommending proposal from Sterling Wellness to provide health park services at $3.50 for eligible employees, on-site screenings to all employees at $131.25 per participant, with health participants receiving a $500 credit to the deductible if all criteria are completed for the health.
And motion by Mr. Duplantis. I will second. Any discussion, any comment from the public? Board?
Has anybody else approached us on this?
No, sir. We were already in the works of doing and setting up all of our screenings, and then I just recently got this information. So, we can possibly look in the future for something, if y'all want to.
I'm just curious, do we have a percentage of, like, a percentage of the number of employees that participate with Sterling Wellness? Just so we have an idea what we're
I
talking about?
apologize. I thought about that as I was driving across the street, so I will get you that information. We're meeting our consultant, Mr. Martin, and share that with y'all.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? If not, let's vote, please. Motion carries. Item 3, finance. To consider recommended revisions to the fiscal year 2024 operating budget as presented by Chastity Email, Business Manager. Ms. Email.
The state budgeting law requires that budget amendments occur when revenues fall below and expenditures exceed 5% of the total budgeted. During the 2023-2024 year, those funds receiving ad valorem revenue appear to be falling below that variance. As can be seen from the spreadsheet that was attached to the report, the information used during the budget preparation and the actual figures that we received from the assessor's office for the 2023 tax assessment year was slightly overstated. Therefore, I'm requesting approval to revise the budget for all ad valorem funds to $36,990,175 as compared to the original budget of $39,204,592 for a decrease in $2,214,417.
Motion by Mr. Duplantis, and I will second. Any comments from the public? Any from the board?
So how does this affect us?
We're doing fine. It's our expenditures are falling below or right at what we budgeted, so the fund balance is going to be fine. It's just these revenues are just a little bit too below 5%.
More realistic looking? All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Let's vote. Motion carries. Item B, to receive the monthly budget to actual report for all major funds for the period through June 31st, 2024.
So the monthly budget to actuals report is a report of all the major funds of the district. Again, the district's major funds include the general fund, the 1995 sales tax restricted fund, salary supplement fund, 2021 construction funds, which will be presented during the Land and Facilities meeting, and the Hurricane Recovery Fund. Highlights of the June 30th, 2024 report are as follows. The general fund, it's on page 3. You will see 104.8% of the revenue budgeted has been received for a total of $116,856,752. Items of importance is that we've received 97% of the sales tax revenue budgeted for a total of $19,884,555. And 89.7% of the ad valorem revenue budgeted was received for a total of $8,854,017. As indicated on page 19 of the statement, 85.2% of the expenditures budgeted have been expended or obligated for a total of $133,359,630. On page 21 is the 1995 sales tax salary restricted fund. And per this report, we received 98% of the revenue that it was budgeted for a total of $17,084,345. And then once all transfers have been initiated, the expenditures will be 100% expended. And then the salary supplement fund begins on page 21, 21, I think. And 90.4% of the revenue budgeted has been received for a total of $6,013,341, and 98% of the revenue of the expenditures budgeted have been expended for $209,665.
Thank you for that. Moving on to item C, to receive periodic budget report for special revenue and proprietary funds.
So Louisiana legislative audit requirements require us to come to you biannually on our special revenue funds. Special revenue funds include all grant funds and those not reported as major funds or proprietary funds. Pages 1 and 2 include all special revenue funds earning revenue from local taxes such as sales or ad valorem. The 2 sales tax funds are in line with their budget, and as I just stated with the budget revision, all ad valorem funds were falling below the 5%, and therefore being addressed with that revision. On page 3 is a listing of the district's grants, and when all entries and claims are submitted for reimbursement, all revenues and expenditures should net to zero.
Item D, to receive a financial report on Hurricane Ida response and recovery to date.
I'm sorry, I forgot one on item C, the proprietary funds. I'm sorry. So the proprietary funds are our group health fund, our loss control fund, and our workers' comp fund. As indicated on this report, these 3 funds are currently showing a deficit of $11,192,195. Within the group health fund, we are still pending a couple of items, and one is a journal entry to move all premiums withheld from employees and the employer's portion as well. And then we are just needing to book the journal to cover the transfer from the general fund of the $3.5 million. So that should clear up some of that. And the workers' comp fund also has journal entries that are pending. So I'm not too concerned about this number at this point in time. I believe the deficit will fall, and then anything remaining will just be covered by the general fund.
No problem. Next item D.
For period ending June 30th, 2024, the total amount expended and encumbered for Hurricane Ida $114,692,960. The total amount received from FEMA in June of 2024 was $922,228.82 for an aggregate reimbursement of $49,277,341. The total amount submitted for reimbursement and total amount obligated by FEMA is $61,006,417.
Item 4, transportation, to receive a report of the transportation events from the previous month. Mr.
This report is attached. I'm not sure if it's in the public, but I have to go over it. In June of 2024, there was training that occurred, and they are in the process of overseeing the administration of the training classes for those individuals interested in obtaining their CDL license. The June course had 7 candidates, and the July course being conducted this week has 6 candidates. Interviews have been conducted for the lead driver positions for the 3 areas of the district, and those applicants selected have been contacted and the ancillary contracts have been written and signed. The application window is currently open for any individual interested in being hired as a bus monitor. There are 8 positions available. At this moment, we can begin the new year with all routes covered. And various routes have been consolidated and dissolved, but we are actually recruiting and hiring new operators. As we hire new drivers, these routes will no longer be on an alternate and are consolidated or dissolved basis. Operational, 8 newer buses will be replacing older buses among the fleet, and the anticipation is that will be 3 model years 2024, 2025, 1 model year 2021, and 4 model year 2019. And he is scheduling meetings with vendors that provide camera systems and parking.
With no further business to be brought forth to the committee